Number 9. There are 600 pupils in a school. The ratio of boys to girls in this school is 3 to 5. How many girls and how many boys are in this school? So let's start with what we know. We know that there are 600 pupils. We know that the ratio of boys to girls is 3 to 5. And that's what we need to know. I'm going to start by writing the words boys to girls. And then I'm going to bring in this ratio. Remember, these two things are saying the same thing. We could also use fraction form. But line it up, and then you've got what you need. There are 3 boys for every 5 girls. And together, that would be 8 pupils, students. So for every 8 students, 3 of them are boys and 5 of them are girls. And then we're going to do some proportions. So I'm going to work with the boys first. I'm going to say that, let me do it this way. There are 3 boys out of every 8 students. And on this one, we're going to say that there are 5 girls out of every 8 students. Now let's bring in the 600 students, and that's true for each proportion here. And you've got your proportion to solve. So 3 times 600 is 1,800. And 1,800 divided by 8 is 225. So there are 225 boys. Now you could just subtract that 600 and the 225. That's perfectly fine. But I'm going to go ahead and work this one as a proportion just for practice. So 600 times 5, that's 3,000. And 3,000 divided by 8 is 375. So there are 375 girls. And we can check ourselves by adding those two numbers. 225 plus 375 is 600. That's a very good question, in my opinion. This one is out of place. You can definitely skip over this one until you've had fraction operations, if you need to. If you're not real comfortable with fractions, I would skip this one for now. Once you've had the fractions, you will know how to do it. It says to express the ratio in its simplest form. So this is actually going to be a but it's a complex fraction where you have a double-decker fraction. So what this literally translates to is 3 2/3 divided by 7 1/3. Now we are going to cover this over a few pages later. So again, if you're not comfortable here, just skip it and come back to it another time. You'll be fine. But if you are comfortable with fractions, or after you've done the fractions with me, here's what we would do. 3 times 3 plus 2. So 3 3s are 9, plus 2 is 11. And then 3 times 7 is 21, plus 1 is 22. And you keep the same denominators. And we're still dividing at this point. And then to divide a fraction, you have to get the reciprocal. Again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's okay. Come back to this later. Those 3's are going to cancel. So you get 11/22, which simplifies down to 1/2. And that is the answer to this very complicated problem. Number 11. There are R red marbles, B blue marbles, and W white marbles in a bag. Write the ratio of the number of blue marbles to the total number of marbles in terms of R, B, and W. So they're messing with my mind here. They're giving me letters instead of numbers. But that doesn't matter a hill of beans because we know how to do ratios. I'm going to bring the word 2 on down. So what are they calling the blue marbles? They're calling them the B's. So B. How do you get a total? You add, right? So what would we add? We would add the red plus the blue plus the W. And that's our answer. We could write it this way. But if I were a betting person, I would bet the answer would look like this. Because we could also write it in fraction form. You might also see parentheses around these. But don't let it rattle you. Just think about what they're asking you and use what they gave you. You can't use numbers because there are none. Number 12. A jar is filled with pennies and nickels in the ratio of 5:3. There are 30 nickels in the jar, and that's misspelled. This is a spelling error. There are 30 nickels in the jar. How many coins are there? That's also a run-on sentence. They were not doing well with their grammar, were they? I didn't write this, I promise. Okay, pennies and nickels in the ratio of 5:3. So pennies to nickels in the ratio of 5:3. That means for every 5 pennies, there are 3 nickels. So we have that little bit of information. And those together would just give me 8 coins. Okay. So then this other piece of information is in terms of nickels. So we don't really care about the pennies at this point. We're interested in those nickels. And I'm just going to go ahead and bring that 30. They're nickels. So let's bring it over here. we're going to find the number of coins. So 30 times 8 is 240. And 240 divided by 3, no surprise here, you can kind of look at this one and tell there are 80 coins in the jar. That's a good question as well. I like all of these. I'm not real fond of number 10, although it's a fair question. It's just out of place here, in my opinion. And I believe that was all for this practice set.